Hey everyone. Oh, okay. Thanks, Sam. Thanks for arranging this event and inviting us. So yeah, I'm Izzy. I'm a contributor to Lido DAO as master of validators. I think I'll use that little intro to kind of go into what makes Lido so special. So I introduced myself as contributor to a DAO because this is something that's pivotally important to what Lido is and how Lido works. So at its core, Lido is actually two separate things. It is software, a protocol that exists on Ethereum that brings together different types of users, stakers, and node operators, and it is also a DAO. The DAO is essentially the governing body that controls this protocol, and they are two separate and disparate things. The protocol can function on its own, and it basically allows users to have optionality around their staked assets, primarily on Ethereum, but also on Solana and Polygon. And the DAO is an organization that is not a company. It is not a singular entity. It is a collection of contributors, community members, and aligned individuals and actors in the space, ranging from node operators to researchers to analysts, who all use Lido as a coordination mechanism to try to make staking and validation on the different networks that Lido participates on, but primarily on Ethereum because that is Lido's home, better, more robust, safer, secure, and decentralized. So we present ourselves as contributors because that's essentially what we are. We are consultants that provide advice to people who try to put their minds together and their efforts together to make this underlying piece of technology a little bit better, to make the experience better for users, and to make the underlying network a little bit better. So at its core, like I said earlier, Lido is a protocol that tries to offer a product to stakers. So usually when you stake, especially on a network like Ethereum, there are certain limitations. There might be a certain minimum of stake that you might need to have to participate in the network. There might be lockup periods going into or out of the network. And there might be reduced optionality with what you can do with that capital while it's being staked. So liquid staking is essentially a set of features that rest on top of whatever chain we might be talking about, so Ethereum in this case, that removes some of these barriers to entry and makes staking more accessible. So it means that any user, whether they have 32 ETH or less, for Lido it's down to like 0.001 ETH, can participate in ensuring the safety of the network that they want to use to transact on. So if we're talking about owning a piece of finance, right, recovering financial sovereignty and power from like the machinations of the last 100 years of the global economy, being able to participate in creating the security that underpins the financial transactions that will bring us together as we create like a new form of global economy makes you one of the most like powerful people possible in this new future. And so liquid staking is something that enshrines this right and lowers the barriers to entry for people to do that, apart from just people that have enough capital. The second thing that it does is that it gives you optionality on this capital. Instead of it being locked up, you can use it to do a lot of different things. And those things are basically limitless. And that's one of the great things that blockchains and decentralized finance has allowed us to do. So if you want to take this capital and take a loan out against it, you can. If you want to take it and do zany things that I don't necessarily recommend, like leverage staking, you can. Or you might just want to like have it sit there as essentially money that you can use because you can pay for things in STETH, just like you would pay for them, for example, in ETH or DAI. But you essentially have capital that is always increasing, provided that validation on Ethereum and the rewards rate keep happening correctly. So the most important thing is essentially creating this optionality for these users. And then the second thing is like, who are these users that we're talking about, and why are we talking about Lido at an event around institutional staking? So a lot of people have a preconception that Lido is for retail. It's not true. Lido, like Ethereum, is for everyone. Currently, 30% of the stake of Ethereum runs through the Lido protocol. Essentially, this means that if we're talking about Ethereum being for everyone, if Ethereum is for institutions, then Lido is also for institutions. It's also for retail, and it's for anybody and everybody to be able to transact with each other through a shared layer of common security, aligned goals, and aligned principles. And the other really important thing about talking about institutions is how can we make institutions comfortable with the new paradigm of like blockchain infrastructure, how it works and things like that. Staking in itself is something that is a relatively new paradigm from a technological and operational perspective. There aren't very many or potentially any analogs in traditional industries with what staking is and how it works, and the level of participation that it entails in terms of a staker, the access that they have to the capital, what that capital is doing in the system while it's being used, and the fact that that capital is not only productive at the same time that it's providing security for the network, but can also be doubly productive in terms of interactions with other financial actors. So one of the main things that we're trying to do as Lido in the next coming months is educate institutions around how Lido works, the fact that it's essentially a piece of code, that this piece of code has certain governable elements, but these risks are well mitigated in certain cases where those risks do exist, and if there are risks that are not mitigated, the impacts most certainly are, and what are the mechanisms and operational processes around things like that. And the other thing is institutions and also things happening on-chain coming to terms with new compliance requirements or the evolution of compliance requirements from what used to be in the past, and I think we'll get a chance to talk about it on the panel, so I won't go into that. But the three kind of thrusts of what we want to do in the next coming months are broaden the node operator set. So for those of you that don't know, there are currently 31 node operators on the Lido and Ethereum protocol. There's 8 more being added as we speak right now. There's a pending DAO vote on this, so if you have a Lido, I encourage you to vote either one way or another. But already bringing the number close to 40. So this would mean that less than 1% of all stake of Ethereum is basically going to these different node operators because Lido is opinionated and then forces stake distribution. The other thing that we want to do is broaden this node operator base by introducing ways for people to participate in Lido from home, for example, in a permissionless manner. And then also broaden the technologies that are used for Lido and validation. So using things like distributed validator technology to really meaningfully reduce risk, which ties back into the concerns or security considerations that certain parties like institutions might have around using liquid staking protocols versus just natively staking or doing something else with that capital. So that's kind of the brief introduction from us. I hope we're going to get a chance to go through a lot of these things in detail, perhaps on the upcoming panel. But from my perspective, I'm also really keen to go into RWA and DeFi. Thank you.